Hello everyone, this is Genius Yoshi and today we're building Hyper Aggro Kida deck. What is this deck about? Well, like the title says, our goal is to try and be as aggressive as possible and just quest, gain as much lore as we can and try to end the game before the opponent has the time to do anything. So how do we achieve that? Well, we'll start with a full playset of Lilo and full playset of Maleficent, as there are the 1-drop 2 questers, although they are non-inkable, so we gotta be careful a little bit about our uninkable count. I've also spoiled that this is going to be a Kida deck, so we're going to be including a full playset of Kida the Atlantean, but it's not really for that Kida that we're calling this a Kida deck. It's because of the bigger Kida that I will reach one day over here, Protector of Atlantis. So the problem with aggressive decks is that if you go to quest and your characters are typically weaker than opponent's in character, the opponent gets a field day just challenging and banishing all of your characters on the counter swing. But Kida here gives all the characters -3 combat power, meaning that your weaklings are now protected from combat from characters that are already on the board. Now, Madam Mim, Fox, and Maui and other rush characters bypass this ability, but outside of that, it's pretty good. It's going to stick on shift, and Kida has a decent 3-5, 2-quester style of stats, so it's a solid character to include in our deck, and she shifts 3, so we can play her on top of the smaller Kida if we want to bring her out faster. Okay. What other ways do we have to protect our cheap characters? Well, there's Bodyguard. Simba's been doing a great job since the first chapter. That's been at the core of this aggro deck, and I see no reason to change that. We've also seen that the Madam Mims, the Snake, and the Fox are pretty good at just bouncing back the 1-drops. First off, you can get your 2 lore and safely protect your character because it's back in your hand. But also they're 1-drops, so they're very efficient at putting the Madam Mims in play. Next up, we're looking for more aggressive characters, 2-drop 2 questers or better. And Sleepy does a good job because he has some nice stats, does enter the battlefield exerted, but he's inkable 2 quester with good stats. Makes the cut. I also have access to this new treasure, Piglet, the Pooh pirate captain. And basically this guy's a 3-quester as long as we have 3 characters in play. Piglet +2. And well, that's easy to do in our deck because we're playing a bunch of 1-drops. So now looking at our curve, our 1-2 slots are pretty full. Now have 3 and 5, which is kind of what we want. But we can look into some bigger threats a little bit. And we also want to diversify our threats. Let's actually go at that angle first. So with an aggro deck, we now have access to locations, which is a different style of threats. So if the opponent's packing a lot of board state removal for characters, like be prepared, grab your sword, we can have a couple of locations in play, and suddenly it's more troublesome for the opponent to have a one-answer-fits-all type of strategy. And we have access to probably the 2 best locations. We have access to the Pride Lands, which costs 2, super efficient. If we move a Simba there, then we can pay 1 less for all of our other characters, which is pretty nice. And we can also give our characters +2 health, which can come in handy from time to time. We also have access to another fantastic location with the Queen's Castle. High willpower, gives you 2 lore, inkable, and if you move your characters there, you draw extra cards. What's not to love? I mean, later in the game, as we've used all our resources and we're just playing it off the top of our deck, we can use our extra ink to move our characters to the Queen's Castle, getting some extra benefits. Well, that's pretty nice. Now we're at 44. So we're looking for 3 drops now. Yeah, 3 and 4. we'll play a pair of Arthur's Wizard's Apprentice. It kind of goes well with the Madam Mim type synergy acts similarly, and also Quest for 3 with his awesome ability. We can pick up our aggressive questers. We can pick up our Lilo and our Maleficent. Just pretty solid. I kind of like Doc, because Doc allows us to get some extra ink. He's a 2 quester for 3. He's probably going to get inked most of the time, but he can also help us reach a Kida. So with a Doc on turn 3, we can then quest with everything, ink a card, Kida turn 5, boom, Doc is safe. Has gotten us 2 lore, and has helped us summon Kida without us investing the extra card in the ink pool. We could play some Balus here. I will personally choose not to play them, mostly because I want to be careful about my uninkable counts, which is starting to be relatively high. We have 4, 8, 12, 14. Actually, I'll allow myself two more inkables. 2 more uninkables. And they're going to be Peter Pan. Peter Pan's Shadow. I'll be playing 2 copies of this. Why am I going Peter Pan's Shadow over Baloo? Because, again, I want to diversify my threats. I like having access to an evasive character that quests for 2. And speaking of evasive characters, we can also add in some of the sneaky little chameleon, Pascal, as a cheap evasive threat. Again, another target to bounce back with our Madam Mims or with our Merlin. And I think our threat count's pretty good. So to wrap up our list, we need an inkable card. And I think what we want is the Bare Necessities. Because with the Bare Necessities, we can ideally sing it with a Simba, or wait for the opportune time right before grab your sword and boom, pick it out of our opponent's hand so they can't cast it. And suddenly when they lose their answer or their board wipe to our board full of high questing characters, well, that's a GG. Well, let's go see some GGs in action, whether it's from us or from our opponents, with some games coming right up. We're playing against Emerald Amber using our hard aggro deck with Kida. We have small Kida, pair of Sleepies, a Pascal, Queen's Castle, Pride Lands, and a Piglet. Send 1 Sleepy back, and the rest is actually pretty good. Just gonna keep that hand. Oh, Madam Mim. Snake version. We go second, which is unfortunate. But we do have access to a Pascal into Sleepy type of line. Second Min Snake. I don't think we want this one. Let's open up with our Cozy Chameleon. Pascal. Just getting ready to quest and becoming evasive. Hidden in this brown background. So the opponent lands a Flynn Rider. So the opponent's also going with the I'm going to ignore you and just quest strategy. So let's ink our Kida. Land Sleepy. Sleepy's going to protect Pascal. Now Pascal has evasive. Rapunzel's Companion blending with the purple colored card. Perfect color for blending in nature, I guess. Although Pascal is green. Green/purple. Camouflage. Spoken too much about Pascal, and I should shift my focus to Morph. Morph being the king of shifting. So here we have the option of going after that Flynn Rider with Sleepy. Could also land our Pride Lands. Do we want threat diversification in this particular matchup? I'm not sure. Bodyguard would be nice. I am tempted to play that Simba. So I think I'm just going to ink Madam Mim and land a bodyguarding Simba. And quest with the rest of the squad. Let's highlight the Pride lands. If we have a prince or a king there, we pay 1 less to play characters. And it only costs 2 to move there. So next turn we could play Pride lands and move Simba there. Ooh, opponent shifts a Stitch Rockstar. That has gotta hurt. Is gonna hurt. Well, Simba will tell us. So Stitch is quite a big beater that our opponent has. And we find ourselves a Kida. We might have to ink Kida here. Question is, do we want to go for Rapunzel's, for the Queen's Castle? The other option is we ink Piglet, play the Queen's Castle. How badly do we need to take care of that Stitch? I think we do need to take care of it. So we're going to take it out. Sacrificing our 2 aggressive characters. I really want to ink these ones. I'm going to have to ink Piglet. I hope that I draw an inkable card next turn, as we're going to resolve Queen's Castle and hope it sticks. I'm really not sure whether this is the right play or not. But we have a 7-drop, 7 HP location. So the opponent lands a Pluto, threatening to shift the bigger bodyguarding Pluto on top. But it's no threat to our Queen's Castle. And Flynn's no threat to our castle either. Ooh, Flynn. Big Flynn. So that Flynn gets more lore the fewer cards we have in hand. Which can be quite a problematic ability. He's evasive. Now we will have Peter Pan's Shadow. That's going to help us with the evasiveness. It costs 1 to move a character here. We could play a Simba or Peter Pan's Shadow and move it to the Queen's Castle. Or play Kida and nullify the board, basically. Even if the opponent shifts a big Pluto here, it's 3, 4, 5, 6. Queen's Castle still lives. So let's use Pan's Shadow. Move it to the Queen's Castle. And I'll try to draw some cards off of that. I've never been a big fan of Peter Pan's Shadow, but it feels like a nice inclusion in the deck. 2/3 evasive rush. And other characters with rush gain evasive. It's mostly an evasive threat, that quest for 2. That's what we're going for. Lack of inkability is a problem. But in this case, he's going to net us a card off of the Queen's Castle unless the opponent plays something very threatening, which Perdita is not. Perdita brings back Morph. Should highlight the Dalmatian Queen, Perdita. Devoted Mother, 1/6, quest for 2. Whenever she enters or quests, you get to bring in an extra card. You get to revive a 2-drop. Opponent can quest for 6. No, more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus Flynn. So I need to be careful about cards in hand count. Peter Pan's shadow can quest for 2. What are we going for here in terms of win? Can you go 2, 4, 6? That's 14. We need 6 more for next turn, which we don't have. So we'll need to go through some level of combat. I think we can just land a Kida. Then we don't have a way to deal with Perdita next turn. Although we would nullify Flynn Rider. Can also take out Small Flynn. Slow down our opponent. Just land a Kida. I kind of like this line. We'll take out Flynn. Let go of our Pride lands for now. And we'll land Kida. Let's just nullify the board. Everything gets -3 combat power. And we'll pass the turn. Kida. Best Peacekeeper in the game, just no combat. Or combats are much weakened. So now all of our characters have 0 power. Cusco's Palace comes in. Palace will mean that whenever we banish a character hosted in Palace, the attacker gets banished. And Perdita moves in. Bring back Flynn that we've just taken care of last turn. That's 1, 2, 3. Draw a card, plus a bonus card. That Flynn quest for 0. I think these 3 pieces of lore are unavoidable. These 2 are unavoidable. And that means we're dead. So let's quest. Drop our hand on the board. Because we can. Pass the turn. Make it to 14, but we lose to the aggressive deck on the opponent's side of the board. Aggro discard. Takes game 1 on play. We're playing against Emerald Amber using our Kida aggro deck, and we're going first this game. I don't like the Pan Shadow in my opener. Double Min Fox is a bit much. The rest is pretty good. I'd like a better 1-drop than Pascal, but that's okay. We find a Kida and Madam Mim Snake. I will send that snake into the ink pile and land Pascal turn 1, the weaker threat. Actually, this is game 2. So we're playing the same opponent as last time, and the rematch has worked. I just wasn't 100% sure how that worked out. Turn 2. I think we have to ink the bear. No, let's ink our Kida. Play a Piglet since the opponent's not applying any kind of pressure. We'll quest a Pascal. Piglet, the little captain who went pretty far, has the ability to quest for 3 as long as we have 3 characters in play. Piglet +2. Opponent lands a morph. As we find Arthur. Morph is threatening. Last time we've seen a Stitch Rockstar come into play. Although it's too early for a Stitch Rockstar. Amber, it could be a Belle. Although it's just so tempting to land the Arthur here. I think I'm gonna ink the Simba, land the Arthur. Be cost efficient, and we get the quest for 3 with Piglet, 1 with Pascal, up to 5. Taking the early lead that is oh so important in these mirror matches. And that's kind of how it goes. Whoever goes first is going to try and just pressure with lore, and the person going second just tries to catch up on board, keep the opponent at bay, and then flip the table over. Opponent has 6 cards in hand. We are outcarded. Ooh, Jasper. That's a spicy one. I did like Jasper in first chapter gameplay. Still decent now whenever he quests. Their target character cannot. I'll quest with Pascal. Quest with Arthur, bounce back Pascal, giving us the bonus 2 lore off of Arthur's ability. I think I'm going to say goodbye to the Bare Necessities and land the Queen's Castle. Let's try to win off of the Queen's Castle again. It was effective last game, and Jasper's ability to prevent us from questing comes from it questing itself. So if the opponent wants to deny our quests, that means the castle goes rampant. And it's can't quest, so we can't even gain, it's not can't gain lore through questing, it's really can't quest. So we can't bounce back our characters with Arthur. Flynn comes in. It's quite tempting here to just try and flutter Queen's Castle to nullify that Flynn Rider. I could play Pascal, bounce Pascal, ink Pascal, double move, and take out Jasper. Seems like a good play. Play Pascal, bounce it. Oh no, I can only send one person to the castle. Well, that person is going to be Arthur. And Min Fox will take out Jasper. I like questing. Let's give her a little bit of screen time. Madam Mim Fox. It's Rafiki's replacement on steroids. And Amethyst player have never looked back. This card has been a mainstay since Rise of the Floodborn. Saying it like it's been a very long time makes it more intimidating than saying for the past 7.5. For half the lifetime of the game. It's all about how you present data. We gain 2 lore off of the Queen's Castle, pick up a card. Opponent knows we have the Queen's Castle, so they throw away the Flynn. And I'm not too scared about that Flynn either. So maybe we just flood our castle. The opponent doesn't have any good mass removal in that ink. Nor really much damage. And Archer is optional, so I'm going to quest with Archer and decline the trigger. Arthur, Wizard Apprentice. putting a lot of attention in his studies to make sure that he's worth a lot of ink and sees some nice playtime on the tables. Here comes the opponent's Perdita. Picks back up a morph. It's really nice pickup with Perdita, I must say. Flynn goes to poke Arthur. And turn passes back to us. We gain 2 off of the Queen's Castle. We draw a bunch of cards. But now that I think about it, we just win off of Arthur Trigger. 21 ink. And we've out-aggroed the opponent. Well, since we have an opponent that has an interesting deck, plays well, and is up for it, let's go finish off our best of 3, which round number 3 score is 1-1. And we have a pile of 1-drops here. And a bodyguard. That's too many, right? I'll send to you. We'll go 1-drop, 1-drop, 1-drop. Bodyguard. Now 1-drop, 1-drop, 1-drop. Yeah, let's keep 3 of them. We need to make sure we have something that we can ink. We're going super hard aggro. Turn 1 Lilo. Opponent doesn't play any board wipe. That's the advantage when you're, when you know the opponent's ink and you've been playing 2 games against them, you start to figure out their weaknesses. And they can't punch through overly well. Morph is kind of our opponent's best tool. So we'll ink a Sleepy. Go land a double 1-drop. Pass the turn back. Hypnotize is going to be too slow for this matchup. So our opponent inks it quite wisely. And there's the morph. The morph I'm scared of. Simba can quest. And we top deck into a Maleficent. Alright, well. Maleficent, number 4 essentially. With a bodyguard. As we go to quest. This hand would be completely, utterly disgusting on the play. On the draw, our opponent does have the tempo to try and counter it. If the opponent can shift a Stitch Rockstar, then we can get into a bit of trouble. But as it stands, our Simba is bodyguarding quite effectively. I don't think our opponent plays any rush character. Bare Necessities aren't going to help you. Opponent has the Rockstar off of the morph. So this is going to hurt. Should highlight morph. Although his eyes are binoculars in the picture. So he can see us even from afar. So maybe we can see it from afar. Is it symmetrical? Does it work like that? Doesn't work like that. Oh well. When we find a Queen's Castle, so let's diversify our threats. I think that's what we want to do. Play the castle, quest for 6. All in. What else am I going to do? I guess I can hold back, but with a Stitch Rockstar, the opponent is going to flood us in cards advantage. So we're going to pressure as much as we can. And if the opponent is taking down our exerted characters, our opponent's not attacking our location. Which means our location is going to bring us the victory. It's only 4 turns. 4 turns. I know, 4 turns is a long time in Lorcana. Opponent lands a Jasper, trying to prevent us from questing for the win. There's a Simba. And we draw the Kida. That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Get a quest at Maleficent, land a Kida. Boom! All your characters have 0 power. Maleficent protected. Now, of course, Jasper can quest and prevent Kida or Maleficent from questing. But we're also gaining some time with our Queen's Castle. Opponent plays a Perdita, but has nothing to bring back, and no combat to send anything to the discard. Opponent calls in the GG, I think. Although Jasper can still prevent questing from one of our characters. Kida cannot quest. Find another Queen's Castle. So land Queen's Castle number 2. Sealing the deal. Oh, I forgot we gained the 2 lore from the Queen's Castle. So our hyper aggro start allows us to take over the game, even going second in an aggro matchup. And the Queen's Castle allows us to seal the deal by diversifying our threats, with Kida's just boom, peace for all. And that's a very fun 2 out of 3. We're playing against a Ruby Sapphire deck. In our opener, Doc, Simba, Pascal, Bare Necessities, and a pair of Maleficent. Going with our Bare Necessities. We'll keep one of our Maleficents in our opening hand. Although it's Ruby Sapphire, it's a slow archetype. Let's just keep it like that. Turn 1 Popsicle. Trying to turn down the heat. I'll ink our Pascal and land Maleficent number 1. Tamatoa goes to the ink. Find another copy of Pride Lands. I don't think we'll want to dock this game. Let's land our Simba for now. And quest with Miss Maleficent. Simba, the bodyguard that's been protecting Maleficent since the dawn of time. Ooh, Popsicle. So definitely an items tribal deck that our opponent is playing. McDuck Manor going to be inked. Another jump ahead. Opponent is ramping like crazy. So we'll take the opportunity and check what's in our opponent's hand by singing the Bare Necessities with Simba. Queen of Hearts, pair of Madam Medusas, and the Fishborn Quill will go away. So there's a Madam Medusa that's going to hit us next turn. I don't think we want Min. So we're going to go wide with a Maleficent Pride Lands. We'll pass the turn back to our opponent. So we have to expect Madam Medusa into Madam Medusa for the foreseeable future. as the 4/4 is going to take out, I'm not sure, a Maleficent. On 3. That was the interesting part. Do we want to land a Queen's Castle or a Sleepy and Nether Pride lands? So the opponent's going to land Nether Madam Medusa, take out Simba. If we quest with Maleficent, then Medusa takes out Maleficent. Otherwise, Madam Medusa goes after our Queen's Castle. I think I prefer that. Land a Queen Castle, force the Medusa trigger to go after Simba. And keep both our locations for next turn. Opponent goes after Maleficent. Alright, we gain 3 lore off of our location. And we find a Piglet. I'm interested here in questing with Simba and moving it to the Pride Lands, giving it 5 willpower, forcing both Madam Medusas to challenge it, although they can still go after locations. Bodyguard doesn't prevent that. I'm going to go after that anyways. Move Simba to the Pride Lands and go to quest. That way Simba can't be taken out as easily. We're still going to have a location that'll live for next turn. Now we have a thread of Piglet. If we find another character, we can suddenly quest for 3 with the little Piglet. Oh, the Medusas are going after Simba. I think that's a mistake. My opponent probably making the same mistake that I would have made last week, thinking that you have to hit the bodyguards before hitting the locations. The popsicles are going down. Heal the Madam Medusas. Take the opportunity to land another Queen's Castle. And I'll quest with Piglet. Trying to keep our locations alive a little longer. Gaston comes in. I'm not sure our locations are going to be enough. Opponent takes out Piglet and one of our Queen's Castle. Our locations will take up for 3 up to 16. So our top deck could be quite threatening. We find Bare Necessities. Not quite what I was looking for. But we're still going to cast it. Find a lucky dime. That's going away. The opponent can take out one of our locations. Queen of Hearts plus a 6 attacker is not quite enough. So we're going to keep a pair of Pride lands. And we don't know the last mysterious card in our opponent's hand. As we find a Kida. Opponent has to deal with at least one of the Pride lands. And Kida, well, our opponent has to deal with 2 of our cards. Maui's Hook comes in. Giving our opponent the ability to add 2 power. Can we top deck Kida for game? And a Flowersham. Flowersham draws 2 cards for opponent. Find a Madam Mim Fox, which will allow us to add some threats. So opponent can quest for 9 next turn, that's 18. I don't really see any shifting shenanigans our opponent could do that would mess us up. So I'll protect Kida off of Madam Mim Fox and keep her as a second questing threat. Opponent is questing 16, 17, 18 on the battlefield. And be prepared, opponent has to nuke the board to stay alive. And our opponent's going to win it. The Mech Duck Manor. Ah, what an end to a beautiful game. That was a great game. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, going over what went well and what didn't. On the play, the deck is super aggressive and relatively hard to deal with. The deck does what it's supposed to do, and I think it's one of the better hard aggro decks in the metagame. I must say the Queen's Castle has been doing a fantastic job as a location, but the Pride lands have been a little subpar, especially for an uninkable 2-drop. We rarely want to play this on turn 2, and later in the game, well, it's just a location that quests for 1. So I'd be interested in exchanging it for Baloo and see if it improves the deck. Where is Mr. Baloo? Let's highlight it a little bit in post-game analysis. Gives us an extra bodyguard. It gives us some guaranteed lore. So it's probably a better option later in the game. And I'm quite interested in seeing just how well he does. But outside of that, the list feels pretty solid. We might want to tweak the Lilo and Maleficent. Maybe want to take one of them down. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Which substitutions would you make in this deck? What do you feel would improve the deck overall? And are you in favor of Baloo or are you in favor of the Pride lands? Let me know. And I hope that you've enjoyed the video, had a great time. Don't forget to thumbs up the video, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you next time. And have a great week, day, or how long it is between now and the next video, and I'll wish you a great time. Well, just enjoy life, and I'll see you next time.